Well, sir, if you don't mind me saying, you look great at 85. A large part of my job is helping patients that are above 65. And if they don't look healthy and fit like you, I can't even offer them surgery even if they have a problem. So over the years, I've really come to learn how important it is to stay fit and strong into late age, stay healthy, stay lean, and avoid those processed foods you talk about. I personally have been on a journey as well to clean all of that out of my life. Uh, Take all the sugar out, the processed food, hit certain protein goals every day, and then also make sure I'm in a certain caloric range so that my weight's not going up or going down. And then try to strength train about 5 times a week.
Hello, my name is John Brink, and we are podcasting on the Brink from downtown Prince George, British Columbia, Canada. And for all those people watching us from around the world, where is Prince George, British Columbia? Well, obviously you know Canada. Then British Columbia is on the west coast of Canada, and then we have this big city called Vancouver. We are 500 miles north or 800 kilometers for our European friends north of Vancouver. And that puts us in the center of British Columbia, north, south, east, west. Prince George is a city of about 80,000 people. We have lots of forest all around us. Within 50 miles, we have 100 lakes. We have lots of friends, black bears, grizzly bears, caribou, deer, foxes, wolves, you name it all, we have it all here. We call it paradise. Today we have a very, very interesting guest. His name is Dr. Kushagra Verma, and we'll call him Dr. Verma, or can I call you Kus, Doc?
You can call me Dr. Verma, or if you'd like to call me Kush Verma, you certainly can. Yeah.
Okay, so Dr. Verma, I will call you then, is that again, welcome to the show. And Dr. Verma is an interesting guest because he's a medical doctor and specializes in particular, spinal surgery. And he's a board certified orthopedic spine surgeon. Lots of difficult words for me I'm trying to deal with. At Advanced Spine Care in Los Angeles, or Los Alamitos and Marina del Rey, California. He's fellowship trained complex spine surgery and has many years of experience. He offers surgery when he is at his best option to ensure the highest quality of life for his patients. Now, anytime, Doc, when I think about spine, that is delicate. It is one of the key areas of the body. You want to make sure whoever gets close to you knows exactly what they are doing. So maybe tell our guest a bit about your background. Where are you from originally? Where were you born? Where did you get your schooling? And then obviously you were schooled as a medical doctor, and then from there and then went to the specialty of spine surgery and spine-related issues. In particular, took many, many years of courses from different universities like Cornell University and many other ones. So tell us a bit about that.
Thanks again for having me. I appreciate it. My family, immigrated here from India, and I'm born and raised here, but my parents were immigrants, and born and raised in Maryland. And I was kind of lucky enough to get into, I think, a pretty good engineering school, Cornell, where I did my undergrad. And kind of while I was in college, I realized that I didn't really want to be an engineer. I was really drawn to healthcare. I always was a people person. I always liked to help people and connect with people. So it always was sort of a career that interested me. But it wasn't until I started watching surgery videos that I got really interested in medicine. And right after college, I went to medical school at NYU, and in New York University. And in that time period, I got to watch pediatric surgeons doing scoliosis surgery, and I really liked that type of surgery, the spine surgery that's done on kids and scoliosis. So it became a really early interest of mine in medical school. I even went to Africa in medical school to learn about scoliosis surgery. After that period, I moved to Philadelphia and did my residency, and then that was a period of 5 years, and then moved to San Francisco for another year, and then 2 more years in Seattle where I was a professor. All that time doing, surgery, spine surgery, scoliosis surgery. And for the last 8 years, I've been in Los Angeles and Orange County, and I have my own practice. And we really specialize in both scoliosis surgery, complex surgery, but we also do minimally invasive surgery and disc replacement surgery. And we try to be on the cutting edge, and we try to have a practice that's on the cutting edge as well, really treats patients extremely well and is involved in research, charity work, and even doing podcasts like this to try to help raise awareness about our specialty.
Now, your specialty is not limited to the medical or surgery, but you're also an entrepreneur because you build a business around it, which makes that unique. And we see more and more of that relating to in North America and the United States in particular, but also in Canada and in Europe and places where particular docs, like in your case, are specializing in spinal and I'm not sure if I say that
Orthopedic.
orthopedic
Yeah.
specialties that
Yeah.
become specialized in that field and become entrepreneurial in that field in a way as well. Do I get that correct?
Yeah. I didn't really realize I was starting a business when I started it, to be honest. I just wanted to be independent and
Yeah.
have a practice that just focused on one specialty, because I thought that's the best way to serve our patients. And then as I did it, I kind of learned a lot about, how do we make it so it's really great for the patients? The experience is really good. We do good surgery. And then there's various aspects to it, the team that helps me in the office, the way the office is, how we present information to patients and how we spend time with them. It's very personalized and concierge. And then we want the whole experience to be great. Um, in America, healthcare is, a little bit of a challenge. It's not a perfect system. Very much, sometimes it feels like a factory model where patients are coming in and out, very quick care. Um, it was part of the reason I wanted to have my own practice is to really break away from that mold and really have the care be exceptional and personalized and really led and driven by the physician, which is, I think, what both the physician and the patient want.
So Canada is the same. It is costly and questionable in terms of effectiveness. The system is different in Canada in terms of we have universal health care. United States, not so. And so, but the systems, as you already indicated, are questionable in both different models. Europe, again, I can relate to the time that I was in Europe and Holland, substantially universal. And, so, which means that if a specialty is required, especially if I talk about spinal issues, then you want to find the best that is available. Our system doesn't necessarily support that because from likely a cost perspective. So that the most important part in life is, to me, and I'm going to turn 85 this November, actually, November the 1st. And so I'm at the stage in life where fitness, health, well-being, diet, all those elements that stimulate longevity are very, very important from my perspective. And I'm also an author. I've done 5 books, and I'm working on my 6th one. And the one of the last ones that I did is Living Young, Dying Old. And what I'm basically saying, age is just a number. It's quality of life that is important. And in order to reach that, there are a number of things which are critical, at least in my mind. This is a picture of me, actually. I'm also a bodybuilder, and I'm the oldest competitive bodybuilder in North America. And
That's amazing. And I really look up to that, just so you know.
I appreciate that. And
I
so
strength train about 5 times a week.
I
And
like it, and so do I. And that part, again, is very, very important. So what is important in my world is saying that exposure to vitamin D, very, very important from sunshine or in some form of form, very important. The other one, very important, I say 7 to 9 hours sleep a day is very, very important in my world. And then to have diet, very, very important. So wasn't always that way in my world, although my wife is a vegetarian, and so I didn't listen quite as good as I could have and should have, and until something that nearly killed me got me the message and saying I was not abusive necessarily in terms of food, but I have to do better. So now I do all the shopping. So if I go to a grocery store, I usually shop on the outside of the inside store.
that's exactly what you should be doing.
And because inside the aisles are the protein processed foods or super processed, and if I don't know what is in it, I don't want it. And so that's what I do, and very particular about it. And the other part is I stay active, but also do strength training. And obviously the reason that I'm the oldest competitive bodybuilder is not so much that I want to become a bodybuilder, but it came with doing exercise. And when somebody said, "Hey John," and I was already then in my 70s, "Hey John, have you ever thought about competing?" And I said, "Me? Yeah." And so I did. I competed bodybuilding and physique here in Northern British Columbia. I came in second in bodybuilding, third in physique, qualified me for the provincials, did the same there, qualified me for the nationals and the Arnolds. And then COVID came. And then, so now again at nearly 85, this is the way I look today. After this podcast, again, I'm going to the gym and I stay very, very active physically and getting ready for the podcast or the Arnolds when I'm 86.
That's great. You know, I have a poster of Arnold in my home gym.
I like it. Now, if you know Arnold, tell him that you had a podcast with John, and John will tell Arnold, I want him on my podcast, and saying, "Hey, Arnold, I will be back."
I don't know him personally, but I would love to meet him.
Yeah.
When I was in medical school, he would love to hear, some of the first couple of years, you're just sitting in the library. It's quite boring.
Yeah.
You're just studying. And one of the ways I used to stay motivated is I would listen to the motivational speeches that Arnold Schwarzenegger would give that were posted on YouTube. And he's a great motivator.
Yes.
Beyond the bodybuilding, he's had 3, separate careers, and he's also just a profound motivator.
Yeah.
So he's a unique person. He's obviously had some challenges up and down in life, but
We all
he's always
have.
been very focused on fitness, and he's always been somebody that is an inspirational figure.
And then was governor of the state of California.
That's right.
Which is much larger than most countries in the world. So it's not an easy task. And I like him, and I say it a bit tongue in cheek, but I want to get him on my podcast. And so when I say tongue in cheek, if you know him, tell him John wants you on your podcast, and I'll be back on in Ohio
Well,
for the Arnolds. Anyway, the point that I'm making is simply this one, Doc, is that saying that critical in my life at my age, that I started somewhat late in my 60s actually, that everything is possible at any age. So
mhm.
a lot of people make the excuses and saying, well, I'm too old for this. And no, you're not. You can start anytime that you wish and so desire. But there is nothing more important than quality of life. And that then means, from a health perspective, from getting, I stay away from pills and short-term medicines that are, maybe solving one problem but create others. So I try to be knowledgeable and aware. I'm lucky with my wife Sharon. She's very proactive in understanding medicine and maintaining health and fitness.
Well, sir, if you don't mind me saying, you look great at 85. A large part of my job is helping patients that are above 65. And if they don't look healthy and fit like you, I can't even offer them surgery even if they have a problem. So over the years, I've really come to learn how important it is to stay fit and strong into late age, stay healthy, stay lean, and avoid those processed foods you talk about. I personally have been on a journey as well to clean all of that out of my life. Uh, Take all the sugar out, the processed food, hit certain protein goals every day, and then also make sure I'm in a certain caloric range, so that my weight's not going up or going down. And then try to strength train about 5 times a week. And this started really because I was having so many conversations with my patients about being healthy
Exactly.
before I could do surgery on them. And
Right.
then I started to feel like, well, if I'm going to have so many conversations with others about this, I need to be an example of it.
Exactly. Walk the talk.
Well, I gradually changed. And it's a long process, 2, 3 years of changing lots of small habits to become a better version of myself.
Yeah. And the other part about it, Doc, is that, at least in my opinion, is that I like it. It is not something that I wish I didn't do. I like it. And it becomes then a lifestyle, is staying active physically, and in my case, and I'm sure it is in yours, going to the gym. I look forward to it. I go out of my way, although I do a lot of businesses and I'm not trying to be important, but my life is very, very active. But going to the gym is always a priority. I have to go to the gym. And it's immensely rewarding on staying active, but not only, if you're physically active and you're healthy physically and mentally active, then those elements in combination is that. But I usually say attitude, avoid the negative. That's what my life is all about. Passion, whatever I do, I give it 125%. And work ethic, to me, is important. Even now at nearly 85, I get up at 5:30 in the morning. I always make my bed, and I always think I'm late, and I'm staying very, very active, and I enjoy it.
I think we share a similar lifestyle. I'm usually in the gym at 5:30 in the morning almost every day, and then maybe 8 or 9 in the morning on the weekends. But it is the best part of my day. It's my quiet time. It's time for some self reflection. I also challenge myself physically, and the days that I miss that morning, I kind of know my day won't. It just won't be right without that hour for myself. Very
Now,
much look forward to it.
with your training, Doc, and all the things that you see in a system that, I'm not just talking about the United States, but Canada to a certain extent, Europe to a certain extent, is that people are really, there is so much information coming out about medicine of different descriptions. We watch TV, it goes on and on and on and on and on. The
Yeah.
key, the key to fitness and health is, first and foremost, understanding the simplicity of it, in terms of, it's not correct me if I'm wrong, overly complicated.
Yeah.
Vitamin D is a natural, the sunshine is good for you, or in another form, sleep, very, very important, 7 to 9 hours. And then healthy food is the other one that preferably organic. I always look what it is, where did it came from, so that we understand. And then the other one is going to the gym. Is for me it becomes natural, and I love doing it. And then the result is that a much better chance of quality of life and longevity.
Yeah, I agree completely. I am always kind of pushing my friends around me to come with me to the gym or this or that. It's been a great thing. And then, yeah, as you start to cut the processed food out, I think you really do notice some pretty dramatic changes. Obviously, physically, you'll notice some changes, but I think the food tastes better when you cut out all the processed food. All of a sudden, I'm enjoying fruit and vegetables like I never did before,
Exactly.
and I feel full when I eat and stay full.
Yeah.
If the food is just like, pretty much whole food, eggs and things like that, I'm full. I don't have that crash that I would have a lot with other types of food. So it's been great. It's been a great change.
So how do we, so I've written about it, do podcast about it, and how do, there obviously are issues in the medical system, both as we deliver it, both in the United States and in Canada. The universal system is has benefits, but it also has a number of liabilities. Is that health and fitness is so critical. We have to find the best that we can. And one of the challenges that we now have in Canada and probably the United States, from what I hear, somewhat similar, is that a lot of people here in Canada have no docs, and they are simply not available, and there is a major shortage of docs, and
Yeah,
so
I think it's a tough problem to solve. I don't think there's one solution that will be universally applicable. I think first of all, some onus is on the patients.
yes,
We have to be fit and healthy. We have to live a healthier lifestyle. Otherwise, medicine and doctors are going to be limited in how much we can help.
yeah,
If you're very unhealthy, it'll be a lot of prescription medications to correct
yeah,
various things. If you're physically, obese and out of shape, even if there's a spine problem, your recovery will be challenging. You may not do as well. You may require a bigger, more complex surgery potentially. So I think first of all, as a society, I think we have to all get healthier. And second of all, I think the universal system is great when it's a relatively simple amount of healthcare that's needed. But when you need a specialty that's more rare or a more complex surgery or something very specialized, sometimes the waiting list can be pretty long.
yeah.
So we sometimes find patients that need surgery are able to get better access in America, and I think that's one of the things that's better. Not having a universal system, more of a private system. There's more doctors available, like in Southern California, perhaps for spine surgery, than in many parts of the country. And that's good. I think I have lots of wonderful, smart colleagues that are right around the corner from me, and it gradually makes us all better. I think the quality of spine surgery in this region is much better than I've seen in other parts of the country because there's so many good spine surgeons around. Um, so I think there's pluses and minuses to both systems. Being in the kind of private system in America, I find navigating the health insurance world to be quite challenging. It's always sort of changing a little bit, and it's hard. Like patients pay quite a bit of money for insurance usually, and then when it comes time to have surgery, we're met with a lot of opposition and denials from insurance companies trying to get their surgery approved. And then even when it's approved on the back end, sometimes we're not paid for the surgery or we're paid very poorly, and then we have to appeal. And so that part of it is challenging. But I try to just outsource a lot of that and primarily focus on the doctor-patient relationship, me
Yeah.
spending time with people, me building a really great practice, and then doing really high quality spine surgery. That's what I try to focus on.
And what made you so successful, Doc, in my opinion, is you have a passion for what you are doing, and that made you as your specialty so unique as you deliver it. And for others, colleagues that you have in the same field, most of them have a passion for what they do, and particularly caring for people and all those things around it, and helping them as well in terms of how to be preventive, preemptive,
Yeah,
and analyzing what they do. What we find here is that with the universal system, it is discouraged to go to potentially the best available for whatever
sure.
it is that you need because of cost and universality. However, it discourages then, that for people that have money, that the best quality surgeons and help is available is as far away as the airport. Because for me, I had about 10 years ago, I had a knee replacement done in Phoenix, Arizona, and by a very, very highly specialized doc, because I was already very, very active in training and being a bodybuilder. I needed to get the best that I could, and especially relating to making sure that I could still keep being competitive, in those areas. There is quality available in other areas. I just wonder, so many things, as you already indicated, in the digital world and the changes that are taking place, including podcasting, and I'm sure we have a lot of people watching us, you and me here in this discussion around the world, is that people become more knowledgeable about what is going on and how can they be more proactive in their own lives, if it is not only in being preemptive and working on quality of life issues and in terms of diet and a number of other things as to what can be done easily, is what would be your advice as we go forward in all the things that are changing now as it applies to your particular profession, and with the digital age, the AI, and on and on, and all the things that are happening now? Where
Well,
where do you see changes?
I think, I've started to think about my practice differently than perhaps in the past. It's not just to do surgery and be kind of done with our patients. I think it's a portion of it is education. A
Right.
large part of what a doctor needs to do is educate. We may see 60 or 70 patients in clinic this week. Only a few of them are really need surgery.
Right.
But the what I try to do is educate all of them on healthy lifestyle, losing weight if they have a problem, being fit and active, trying to manage their spine problem without surgery is my primary goal for a lot of people, and that's part of what I do with the digital stuff. Sometimes on Thursday and Fridays, I carve out time just to create content, just to maybe do a podcast or do some filming, or even we have a charity trip that we organize and run every year where we go to Africa and do spine surgery abroad. And basically, this is the first year I'm organizing and funding my own trip to Africa to do charity work, and
Right.
I'm bringing my friends with me, a couple of surgeons. And the goal of that is to pull us all together as a community. Let's work together. Let's do charity work. Let's teach and educate our community, and let's overall raise the quality of spine surgery every year so it's better than the year before. And I have a passion for that, and that's where I see my sort of impact in this region in Southern California, is to not only do good work but do some charity work and also do some educational work. And the educational work is in person. but it's also digital. By doing a podcast, people can get to know me. They can learn a little bit about our specialty. I can, in some of these situations, I can describe different types of spine surgery. And I think patients come in very well informed, and it makes my life easier when they are.
So one of the things that in a lot of friends of mine are working in the medical profession, either as surgeons or working in emergency medicine of some description or another, that but we see a lot now in British Columbia and other parts of Canada likely is that the surgeons that work in operating rooms, if they do not have the staff available to support them, shuts down operating rooms. So what happens frequently now here in northern British Columbia, where we say or where we hear on the radio, this emergency room or this hospital will be closed because of lack of staff
Yeah,
availability. And
we're
so,
seeing that problem here too,
yeah. So,
in a different way. But we're seeing the hospitals. I'm one of my offices is in Los Angeles, and one of them is in Los Alamitos, which
right,
Los Alamitos is next to a more underserved population, and so the hospital takes care of more underserved patients.
right,
And in that region, we're seeing the hospital struggle financially. And when
right.
it struggles financially, they cut staff. And then on the surgeon side, next week, for instance, we have several cases we want to do. Well, one of the cases, they told us, hey, we don't have the staff, we don't have the room. I'm not able to get that surgery done. So our productivity as surgeons is not there because we don't, depending on where we're trying to do the surgery, we're simply not able to get it done. And so we're seeing that problem as well. It's been a challenge. As a practice, we try to be balanced. The early part of my practice, it was almost entirely taking care of underserved patients, doing the most challenging cases.
Right.
Now it's a little bit more balanced, but we're always trying to balance our payer mix and be balanced as a practice so that we are taking care of patients with little to no insurance a good amount of time, and then we take care of patients that have maybe better insurance. Everything balances out, and we do good quality work in the community, and overall we're successful. That balance is getting harder and harder to make in certain communities in America, and I'm sure similar situation in Canada.
Yeah.
So those from the physician side, I think, is one of the challenging things about it. I try to pay attention to it and try to make sure we're always doing what's right as doctors. But it can be frustrating. I think just this last year, Medicare made another cut in what they pay hospitals and physicians, which is already quite low. And so that's always a challenge. Like, how do we help these patients with so many cuts?
Yeah, and then obviously, without getting involved in politics, but still, there has been a lot of pressure in cutting cost, and that is one of the budget biggest items, probably in Canada as well as in the United States, and but it's one of the most delicate areas, and so, but at the same time, Doc, what I feel is as a layperson that works with a lot of other people, and we have employ probably 400 or 500 people in our operations. Often we see people having to be absent from work simply because of lifestyle issues, and
Yeah.
and so and as you already indicated, that in a lot of cases, what is happening here as well is that and people are going to the emergency rooms of hospitals here, but with relatively minor issues or minor problems because medical doctors in a general sense are simply not available in a lot of the regions, and that is becoming more and more difficult, in my opinion. And on the other hand, not being critical, but making an observation from a layperson's perspective that is being healthy and proactive, saying that I see a lot of people is lifestyle is one of the biggest challenges, and that likely means it will affect quality of life and longevity. And for a lot of people, the last decade of their lives are, whatever that may be, and they take hands full of prescribed medicine of some sort or another, which again, and I'm not the expert, but it's probably good for one area but not good for others, and should be avoided if possible. And so the first thing is to understand that quality of life, and then pursuing that, and then the rewards of it being mentally active, physically active, and subsequently, still have the energy and to, as long as you can, like me at 85, I still have 10 different companies. I still write books. I'm a presenter. Obviously, I'm one of the most active podcasters. I'm still in the top 1/10 of 1% globally, and do a lot of things that I enjoy doing. But it's the quality of life that allows me to do that. And then the quality of life does not mean that it is not enjoyable. As you already said, I like my diet. I like going to the gym. I like walking. And then for all those people that are wondering what are we doing and why are we doing what we are doing, is that start out slowly. And a lot of people say to me, well, you don't have to become an Olympian or the champion or some sort, but make it as part of your life. And then the amazing things that will happen after you do that for a year, then somebody would say to you, hey, Kus, and John, you look good. What are you doing? And saying, and so that then becomes rewarding in terms of, being able to have that quality of life and see other people struggling with things because, the smaller things that you can do, they're not doing. Is that us not informing them? Is that not teaching them? Should it be taught in the earlier years when we are in school, even in terms of quality of life? Or
Well,
what?
I think, our food has really changed a lot in the last 50, 60 years. We used to have a lot more unprocessed food. Now we have a lot more processed food. And I think slowly our generation is realizing that, this is probably not the best way to eat. And occasionally you can eat out. Occasionally you can have a meal that is, cooked in a way that you're not really sure what oils are used and things like that. But I think maybe a good goal is for 90% of your meals to be cooked at home by you, where you kind of know what you're eating. And then in the beginning, if you're not really quite sure, even tracking what you eat. There's lots of different apps that can be used to sort of make you aware of what you're eating. Are you eating primarily carbohydrates? Are you eating a lot of fats? Are you eating enough protein? And what caloric range are you eating? I found it very helpful to wear a wearable device where I know exactly, what my energy expenditure is every day. And then I sort of make sure that I'm eating enough high quality food to sustain that energy, that I'm not, filling my belly with a lot of empty carbohydrates and things like that. And then I try to teach my kids from a relatively early age. They're 7 and 4. It's hard at that age, obviously.
Yeah.
But I try to teach them, okay, you need a certain amount of protein and veggies and fruits. And I eat the same food I give them, and then, okay, it's okay to have a small treat or something like that. But I want to teach them that food should be for nourishment and it should make you feel good, not just be to taste good.
And by example, if you do that, and that's the point that I'm trying to make, that the earlier we can expose them to healthy living. I agree with you. When I grew up in Holland, right up to the time I was 24, my grandparents had a small piece of property, maybe less than an acre, where they grew all the food that they would be eating, and the only time they would go to the store is for some kind of sugar, salt, or some kind of how do you call it, flavoring. But most of what they ate, they grew, and that was part of their life.
Yeah, yeah. I think that is going to change. I think in the next 10 or 15 years, there will be more of an emphasis on organic food, more cooking at home, more restaurants that are built off a reputation of healthy eating.
Yeah,
Those are restaurants that will maybe thrive and succeed more than the fast food type restaurants.
yeah.
And that's what I think is going to happen. And I think we're learning more and more about the benefits of strength training. Like, not everyone needs to be a bodybuilder like yourself,
No.
but there's incredible value in keeping your body strong into old age.
Yeah.
You know,
So,
and I
so the
think,
point is that strength training is important, not necessarily to become bodybuilders, not, but strength training in addition to being, walking and just cardio is very important. But add an element of strength training to that is very, very important as well. So
yeah,
the
and I.
other, yeah, sorry,
Go ahead.
Doc.
Oh, no, no. I was just going to say, sometimes what I see in my surgical patients, if we have an elderly patient and we have to do a pretty large surgery, I always hesitate. Not because I worry so much about the surgery, but the recovery can be very difficult. And I've seen some of my older patients lose a tremendous amount of muscle mass in that recovery period because they're not active. And that muscle mass becomes very difficult to build back. And so, over the years, I have really tried not to do those really complex surgeries on people that aren't very fit and under a certain age cutoff, because I think beyond the surgery, it's that loss of muscle that can be very challenging. And when you lose muscle, you lose your mobility.
Yeah, that's interesting that you say that, even from a layperson perspective like myself. I've been very active in the gym for the last 16 years in particular. And so when 10 years ago I fell from about 4 feet high on my knee, my right knee, and did damage. And gradually it became worse to where it started affecting me and working out. And early in the States, I got an analysis done and said, yeah, it would be a good idea to do a knee replacement. So I
Yes.
went to the best that I could find. Went there, they got it done by one of the best qualified persons for somebody, for a client, me being that was active in sports. And but I still had muscle tone, and I recovered very, very quick. Within, I think, 3 or 4 months, I was training again. And so, and
Incredible.
and what did it is that I still had muscle tone, and I still was in good shape and fitness.
One of the things we're doing with surgery is we're doing more minimally invasive approaches, really fixing the same problem, but doing it through smaller incisions rather than a big open incision. And that minimally invasive technique, it gives people shorter recoveries. They're back within a week or two, maybe not, ready to train, but being active, doing physical therapy. Most of the surgeries we do, they're back within a week or two. They're outpatient surgeries. And what we're seeing in the younger population, patients under 50 usually, more and more disc replacement for the cervical spine, in the lumbar spine. We're trying to avoid fusions on these patients because long term fusions maybe lead to revisions at the next level, what we call adjacent segment problems. So I think spine surgery is really changing in a great way to be better for the aging population, moving away from open surgery, moving away from large fusions, except when we really need to. And when we really need to, I think they're great operations, but they're salvage operations. So we really want to save those complex surgeries for the complex situation, not for the vast majority of patients we take care of.
So, just for the layperson like me, if you say you're moving away from fusion, what does that mean? Is that a
Well,
larger opening?
well, there's two ways. three ways to really address problems in the spine. One is to do like a laminectomy or decompression. You shave a little bone off of a nerve. Sometimes people have a problem with the disc and will have
Right.
to replace the disc. And in some situations, that level is really arthritic or it's slipped out of place or maybe there's a curve. In that situation, you'll have to put rods and screws to straighten the spine, put it in the correct position. Now, those fusion surgeries, if you do it with a big open incision, they can be quite difficult recoveries. But more and more, we're doing those surgeries through really tiny incisions, minimally invasive approaches, cutting edge approaches. And I think that's really where the future of spine surgery is going to be, being more minimally invasive for the basic surgeries.
Yeah, especially in the spinal surgery and is in particular delicate. I presume
Yeah.
that's always the way I visualized it, and that if you have problems on your back and a slipping of a bone, or then to operate on something like that, that is very very delicate. I believe
Yeah, it's delicate, and then you're often very close to dangerous structures,
exactly.
but it's very repetitive. The good
What
thing
would you
about it
call
is,
a dangerous, very close to a delicate
well,
area?
we're often operating around nerves or the
Yeah,
spinal
yeah,
cord. Not every surgery are we, really manipulating the nerves, but
right.
certain surgeries we are. We're drilling bone off the nerves.
Yeah,
Other times we're doing approaches from the side or from
right.
the front,
Yeah,
and there's an artery and a vein that we need to protect. The common iliac vein is typically a vein that we need to protect. So those are the types of things that we're very aware of in surgery. But the good news is it's very repetitive what we do, and so you develop a good amount of muscle memory, and it's very routine. And so I think that it's quite safe. But I think in spine surgery, it's really important that you devote your entire career to just doing spine surgery. I don't really do anything else.
right.
And the reason is because I really want to be on the absolute cutting edge, and I want to know everything I can possibly know about spine surgery. And it's changing, I think, pretty rapidly as a specialty. Where we were 10 or 15 years ago is so different than where we are today. And it's part of the reason I like to talk about it. I want patients to know about these innovations, learn about them, and then make informed decisions.
Yeah, so the amazing part about what is changing is that digital uh, approaches to surgery in different ways. What makes the difference? Is it the uh, use of equipment that is different, or is it
Well, there's a lot of emerging technology that's coming
right,
in. There's navigation techniques where you have a probe that looks at a computer that can tell you where the screw is going. That's a
right?
really nice innovation. There's even robotics where the robot can put the screw in.
Yeah,
That's got some pluses and minuses. I'm personally not as enthusiastic about that type of technology, but I think it's emerging. It'll probably be better in 5 or 10 years. Then there's also more minimally invasive approaches where you're doing the same surgery, but you're doing it through smaller incisions, through different access points. That's another area of development, and I think it's pretty exciting that we're able to really approach the spine in these different ways. And then the other exciting thing is we're moving it out of the hospital. A lot of these surgeries are not happening in hospitals anymore; they're happening at surgical centers.
right.
And because of that, the recovery times are shorter, the experience is better for the patients, the cost is coming down. So there's a lot of advantages, with doing surgery in a certain kind of way.
Is that then part of the changing of the medical system where surgeries that are usually done in hospitals are more now going to surgical centers that may not necessarily be part of the larger structure of hospitals?
Yeah, I think it's probably a double-edged sword, where certain cases are moving out of the hospital setting. There's a cost savings, but then also there's a revenue loss for the hospital.
Right,
I think that's probably, a change that the system has to adjust to because it's the direction things are going. It's what patients want. I think it's what doctors want. But not every case can be done at a surgery center.
right.
Larger cases can't be done. Patients with more medical problems, it's more comorbidities, it's difficult. But I think it takes a good deal of time to learn how to do surgery at a surgery center. But once you sort of learn that skill and mastered it, I think it's a great service to our patients to be able to move certain cases out of the hospital.
So the other part is that, that when things are changing so quickly as they are doing in your profession in particular, how do people that are already working in the system, you are very, very proactive, but there are many, many that have worked in the system for a long time and can't keep up or don't want to keep up with the new technology. How do they benefit from an ever-changing, and the pace is not slowing down, it's going faster in terms of processes, procedures, and all of that things?
There is a lot of innovation in spine, and there's different ways to approach it. There's one approach is I'm going to jump on every latest thing. And then there's an approach where you're like, well, let me just see how things play out a little bit. Let me talk to my colleagues that do it. Let me read papers about some of the early results. And then, you go to courses maybe to learn about a new technique, and then you slowly decide if you're going to incorporate it into your practice. I don't think any good surgeon jumps on every new exciting technology. They pick and choose what they think is, exciting and interesting for the future. And I'm the same way. There's certain things they don't make much sense to me. I don't think they offer great surgical advantages for patients, and I'm not as interested. And then there's other technologies where I think they're great, and I've spent a good deal of time learning how to do it well, and offering those services to patients.
So the other part is, one question is, what are some of the most common misconceptions that patients have about spine surgery, and how do you work to educate them?
So a lot of patients think every spine surgery is going to be the very risky spine surgery.
Right,
And the truth is there are some surgeries that are riskier, where we're operating on the spinal cord, or
right,
there's maybe a big bruise on the spinal cord and maybe somebody's getting weaker. Those fall into the more risky categories.
right.
But a lot of the surgeries we do, they're not very risky.
Mm.
There's some risk that needs to be mitigated and controlled, of course, but the surgery is done through small incisions. Maybe the amount of manipulation that we need to do to the nerve is minimal to zero, and the infection risk is low. And then the people that we work with are so specialized and highly trained that I feel really confident that things are going to go really smoothly.
Yeah.
And so I'm usually able to tell patients, this is not that really risky surgery, or this is more the risky one. And I do, quite a bit of complex spine surgery, even the charity work I do in Africa. Those are some of the riskiest cases in the whole world.
Right.
And so I have like a pretty good perspective I think, to share with my patients about what kind of surgery this is and my opinion of it. But probably the biggest misconception is that every surgery is the same. When they
Yeah.
come in, it's all sort of clumped together as all spine surgery is risky and dangerous, and that's probably the biggest misconception.
And understandably so, because even from my perspective, spine surgery would put on an alarm saying and say, oh my God, that is delicate, that is dangerous. And what if something goes wrong? It can paralyze you and all of those kind of things. What
Yeah.
I'm hearing from you is no, that is not the case. That it is surgery obviously will be done by a specialist, and it is evolving as the incisions become smaller and smaller and technology it goes forward. So that, and what I'm hearing from you, Dr. Verma, is that looking forward, things will improve as we go forward. Technology will help that process. Training will help that process. The more important part is that the public should understand, be proactive in a world where there is lots of temptations on food, sugar issues, salt issues, other things that are not good for your body. Keep your body, it is precious. And to keep it fit and healthy in your brain and the combination of all of it, you only have one body. And obviously the system is there, and specialists like you, if something goes wrong, are able to deal with that in most cases. But the most important message is quality of life, longevity. Go to the gym if you can, or stay active and understand diet and understand your body is the most important.
Yeah, I think, it is true. An ounce of prevention is probably worth a pound of cure. I think keeping your bones and muscles strong and keeping your body lean is always a good way to avoid back pain. That's what I tell all of my patients that come in with back pain, but the problem isn't necessarily a surgical problem. I tell them all about eating healthy, getting the weight off, and building their core muscles and their back muscles so that they can support their spine.
Exactly.
But then there's situations where, that's not going to work. There's a clear structural problem that needs to be fixed, but often we can fix it.
Yeah.
The revision rate is extremely low in
Yeah.
most of these situations,
Right.
and people can go back to all activities 100% with hopefully minimal pain and discomfort. So that's the message we try to give. And then we really try to teach people, go down the rabbit hole with me, I guess. Let's really learn about spine and different approaches, and let me show you
Exactly.
your imaging. And then people, I think, are able to make good decisions about what to do.
Dr. Verma, it was an amazing podcast. Share with our guests watching us from around the world your contact information, where you are available to potential clients, and so we can post that. And then also, you have a podcast that you are doing.
Yeah,
Subscribe to our podcast because it stimulates you, Dr. Verma, myself, as well, to do these interesting podcasts about health, fitness, and other topics that are so important. So subscribe to our podcast, both Dr. Verma and myself on the Brink, and then share it with others, like it, and have comments. So maybe before you
absolutely.
go, let us again know how to contact you.
Yeah, well, first of all, our practice is called Advanced Spine Care, Advanced Spine Care, or ASC.MD on Instagram. You can also follow me personally. My full name, Kushagra, Kushagra Verma, MD. That's on Instagram. And then you can also just call our office, 562-732-4578. I'd be honored to give you my opinion and have the opportunity to help. I take this, job as an incredible privilege, to be able to help people. This is a very special opportunity that I have, and I don't take it lightly. And then hopefully I'm able to help anybody that is in pain with neck or back pain. And the most important thing is to get a good workup and a diagnosis, with good imaging. And that really helps people figure out what the problem is. So Advanced Spine Care, ASC.MD. And we also have our own podcast, which is Advanced Spine Care on Spotify. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Dr. Verma. This podcast will become available in the next 4 to 5 hours. We get it out the door very quickly, and it will be presented as we filmed it. No changes to it. This is what it is. And again, Dr. Verma, it was a pleasure for all those people watching us around the world. Lots of good information. And again,
Yeah.
it was a privilege. And let's make sure we stay in touch.
Absolutely. I will share my cell phone number with you. You can reach out to me anytime. It was an inspiration to meet you, sir. It's great.
Thanks, Doc. Take care.
Thank you so much for your time.
Bye-bye.